COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please also keep yourself on mute unless and until called on by the chair. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. Chair Melissa Recos.
Present.
Jim Cirillo.
Present.
Matt Moyen.
Present.
Peggy Shaw.
Present.
Ed Harrow. Walter Garland. And I am Ted Barker Hook. I'm present. I will now confirm that staff are present. Judy Day, Hopkinton Conservation Administrator.
Present.
Anna Rogers, Environmental and Inspectional Services Coordinator.
Present.
And Joe Orzel of Lucas Environmental.
Present.
Just to let the public know, we've had several hearings continued. These are homes at 37 Oakhurst Road. That's continued until March 10th. Both of the Wall Street Development 12 North Street hearings have been continued. There is no date for that right now. Additionally, under work session items, 10 Exchange Street violation discussion has been moved to March 10th. That's all I got, Melissa. It's all you.
All right. Thanks, Ted.
Welcome.
Okay, so we have a pretty short agenda tonight. I think that being said, do we have the owners for 15 Montana Road on the line yet?
Yes.
You are. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and start with you?
Okay.
Right, so is this Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, welcome. Thank you for the updated letter and additional information. I thought that was very helpful. I was also the USDA designation. Can you talk a little bit about that from your letter and what that means to you, I guess?
Yeah, so we're members of the American Dairy Goat Association, so we spend a lot of time at the dairy goat shows and whatnot. So we joined a group of people that agreed to be registered and surveyed as smaller dairy farms in Massachusetts. So they yearly send us information. They also give us we fill out surveys for them, and then we get some calls here and there from different people doing research and whatnot, tracking agriculture, dairy goat agriculture in Mass. So that's kind of where it came from, and it takes a couple of different forms. The one consistent thing is the yearly audit they do. How many head do you have? What are your activities? What's your acreage? What's your turnout? What's your hay? All those things.
Okay. Gotcha. It looked pretty simple on the form.
Yeah.
Okay. So you looked at this, Judy, right? And I don't think we had Joe look at it, or did we, Joe?
No, I have not looked at this.
Okay. So Judy took a look. I don't know if everyone on the commission got to take a look. I think we were, kind of hopeful or that we could pin this on an exemption, but um, I don't feel like we can necessarily say with a straight face that the property meets the definition for the agricultural exemption, which isn't the end of the world. It's just, would be a path of least resistance, I think, to have that in place and not have to deal with the notice of intent process. But I don't know if anyone else on the commission has any thoughts or got a chance to read the letter. That was my takeaway in reading it, is that we really do need to treat this as a notice of intent or a violation type, just not violation or enforcement, but shouldn't say violation and enforcement type action, because I don't feel comfortable calling it an exemption under the agricultural designation. But I'll open up to the commission to see if anyone else has thoughts.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
Oh, Melissa, why do you feel it hasn't established that this is a commercial farming operation?
Well, I'm certainly not an expert on this because it's the first time I'm looking at anything like this from a conservation lens. But in reading Act 310 CMR agriculture, it specifically talks about commodities for commercial purposes and about USDA documentation. And although, there is some, that's why I asked about that right off the bat. But I don't know that documentation is what the act is referring to in regard to USDA. To back that up. Also in our bylaw, it talks about a deed restriction being placed on the land for new agricultural activities, which you don't necessarily see something about that. Was that you, Judy? Were you going to chime in?
Yeah, through the chair. Just some notes I had reading through it. The owner has to prove that the area in question was used for agricultural commercial use at the time of the activity. So looking at it, most of the clearing and construction happened between like 2015 and 2018. But the letter says an LLC was registered in 2021, so that would have been after the fact. And it looked like the USDA document was also relatively recent. So, I mean, I think what we're looking at is that period of 2015 to 2018, and I didn't see anything in the narrative that, showed documented commercial activity or in the aerial imagery, really.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, I don't know. We could potentially raise it to DEP, I guess, Judy, if the applicant wanted to continue to pursue that exemption route and see what their official, word would be, having more experience with these than our commission that really doesn't ever see them.
I did speak with DEP.
Okay.
If you want, I have some notes from that conversation, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for the file and the applicant.
Okay. Yeah, just a quick summary when I talked to them. They said they have to prove the agricultural use was commercial in nature at the time of the activity. They said even if a portion of the property was used for agriculture, it doesn't necessarily mean the entire property is protected. Agricultural land can't have lain fallow for more than 5 years to qualify for the exemption. So it has to be active agricultural use. They stated some maintenance, if the agricultural exemption applies, may be exempt from filing with the commission. Although other activities would still need a permit. So regardless of an exemption, clearing in wetlands would still have needed commission approval. And they also stated that the act mentions a USDA farm plan or aerial imagery can be used to demonstrate agricultural use, if either of those were available and pointed towards the exemption applying. So they didn't, I guess, necessarily have a stance on this in particular. That was just their general thoughts. Sorry, Joe.
But yeah, I guess it all kind of stems back to work done on adjacent property, separate from this, post a filing on land that Ed owns at number 9. This popped up and then became the focus of a review based on a site walk Judy and Anna took in July, and asked that we come together with after the fact NOI and a summary plan to kick off discussions. So are we talking about the area adjacent to number 9 where the head wall is and the stream channel that's been identified? Is that the area that needs to I guess, prove that during that time frame that area was used in commercial agriculture? Is that where we're headed based on all this? We're trying to, I hope you can appreciate, we're trying to supply answers to questions of the staff and the commission, and the entire focus has been the area up by number 9, where the chicken coop was built, where the horse barn was built. Is that the area that we need to prove was the subject of commercial farming in 2015?
I believe, and Judy, correct me if I'm wrong, this came to light more as a comment from DEP, not the commission. When they were reviewing the other filing, they brought this up to the commission's attention and asked us to, approach the homeowner and see what kind of was going on. And I believe that they were looking at the entire property, not just that one location. They were looking at the property as a whole. And as Judy said, I think they were probably going through aerials, as Judy did, and seeing the work, the clearing that had been done over the years, and that's why they brought it up. So it's really stemming down from DEP, not the commission's observation. Wasn't the impetus.
Oh, sure. No,
Yeah.
We appreciate the spot that DEP kind of stuck Judy in.
Yeah.
They wanted to see some info, and we've all been scrambling to try to figure out what we need to supply, and that's kind of where we've been on this end is walk into the first hearing and show us that you're a farm, and Ed has gone through the records and developed this narrative for all of us to kind of review. And I guess there's talk about, are we going to utilize the commercial farming exemption? I certainly hope that it was not the result of my filling out the form and saying that this use was allowable as a limited project. We certainly are trying to find some way to strong arm the commission into seeing something there or approving something they're comfortable with. So it one of those things. It feels to me, it feels like a farm, looks like a farm. We'll sit there and talk about whether we have enough USDA forms or enough receipts from purchases back in those times, but it feels like we're kind of there. Ed's shown everything that he has. All our cards are on the table. How do we move this forward? We certainly don't want to spend hours and hours debating commercial farming exemption. At least I do not.
Yeah,
Through the
no,
chair?
I agree. Yes, go ahead.
I believe it actually got brought up when you guys were reviewing the 12 Maple Street extension filing, not Ed's other single family house, because it's that shared property line that has BVW right along what I think is labeled on the plan as a swale. But we have a confirmed wetland delineation, and I think that's what brought up the DEP comments.
Mhm. Okay. But Anna, do you agree the DEP comments were referred to the entire property? Right, not
Correct.
just well. Okay.
But I think they were focusing because we have that confirmed delineation along that whole plan right side along that stone.
Yeah.
Is what they were then seeing the clearing and saying, whoa, you've got a big buffer zone here, and all, that big existing paddock there is potentially all within buffer zone. So then they were looking for approved filings for that clearing.
Sure. Yeah, no, agree, Joe. We want to move on from move on from this topic of conversation. I think we were just kind of wishful thinking that we could easily check a box of exemption and I'll move on. But I think what I'm saying is we can't do that based on the information that's been presented. So I think the path is to continue on with a notice of intent to close this out. And in order to do that, we would need delineation on the property, throughout the property, to understand, what we're approving in a notice of intent. Does that sound like it makes sense for the next step? From you, Joe, or Mr. Kelly?
I'd like a little more description on what the notice of intent is and how extensive we're talking about and the areas on the property that we're talking about. Because it's obviously this whole thing has become, it's a financial issue for me, and sounds like it's getting worse. So I just want to have a very clear understanding of where we're going.
No,
Because at some point, it's going to get really difficult. It's already there, but it sounds like it's going to get very difficult for me to keep this thing going.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Judy, can you just elaborate a little bit on what we would anticipate for the notice of intent plan?
Sure. So you've already filed the notice of intent. So we're already in receipt of an application. I think what we're looking at now is Joe Orzel and DEP's comments on the notice of intent filed mentioned that the entire property should be delineated. I think Joe had noted that there was BBW west on the west side of the property. So it's just, getting a better picture when we get an NOI. Usually the whole property is delineated. So it was a little unusual getting a partial delineation with the filing. So we're not in need of a new filing or anything. It's just the site plan needs to show any and all resource areas on the entire property before I think the commission can make an informed decision on any mitigation or anything that they want to see in place to protect the resource area. And we can refer, back to Joe Orzel's or DEP's comments on, the specifics of why the property needs to be fully delineated. But yeah, we already have a notice of intent, so it's just addressing the comments that were made through the review process to move it forward.
So we can continue it out, and you can talk with Joe Marquardt and see, what that means financially to address those comments and how that's, in the realm for you.
Yeah, based on yesterday's events, we certainly won't be.
Oh yeah, no, it's not going to
doing
happen anytime
delineation
soon.
for quite some time, so.
Yep. Yep. But it will, I mean, the delineation will be good for you going forward if, you know, you need to do anything else on the property or come in front of the commission again for anything that you're doing. Having that delineation already in your pocket is, I like to think, a good investment, but I mean, that's, it's your property. So,
Yeah, our interest is to satisfy the needs of, you know, all the parties here and move forward. So whatever we've got to do, we'll continue to cooperate. It just want to make sure I understand what it is. That's all.
okay. Yeah, so we can go ahead and continue this out. I mean, we might want to continue it for a couple meetings, like you said, Joe. The snow's not going anywhere. Our next meetings are March 10th, March 24th, and April 7th.
Yeah, the way my backyard looks, I think April 7th is about the only thing that would work.
Maybe April 28th also.
Yeah. Hopefully it won't take that long, but yeah, it's going to take a while to settle out. So should we pick up this thread with Judy and watch the weather in the meantime, or continue this indefinitely? How do we do that?
I think we need to pick a date.
Okay.
To continue to. Yeah, so I mean, we could continue it to April 7th, and you can always ask for a continuance without coming to the meeting if that date doesn't work out.
Okay.
Okay.
It's fine with us.
All right. Can I get a motion to continue this out to April 7th?
So moved.
And I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All right. So thank you, and keep our fingers crossed for no more snow.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, work session items. Draft minutes for review. Does anyone have any comments or have not had enough time to review the minutes that were drafted for September 23rd, 2025 and February 10th, 2026?
Melissa?
Yes, Ted.
I've reviewed them and I didn't see anything, but I'm going to abstain on the February 10th because I wasn't there. So if we could have two separate votes, it might be a little bit tidier.
Okay.
How are we doing on numbers? Because I wasn't there on the 10th either. But if one of us needs to vote, then I'll happily do that.
Yeah, we can always kick it to the next meeting too. So why don't we just can I get a motion for the September 23rd minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Peggy, you wouldn't have been there for the...
Yeah, I'm going to abstain.
Okay, and I am also an aye. And then, Judy, if you can just carry over the February 10th to the next meeting.
Will do.
Thanks.
Does that mean I don't officially have the timekeeper role until we approve those minutes?
Potentially.
We can discuss.
Yeah. 75 South Street. Informal discussion. All right. Do we have someone on the line for this
That
one?
would be me. Yes.
Okay, Joe.
This is kind of a procedural question, I guess. You may recall this site was before the commission back in November for soil borings to deal with some hazardous waste material behind number 75 between 75 and Route 495. That was part of a two-pronged attack on our side. What we wanted to do was start the borings for the injections to deal with the hazmat materials and then take up site changes. The weather has not cooperated at all with the original soil boring part of the process. Water is used to inject those compounds into the hazmat. Right after the commission granted approval, the weather shut down on us, and we've been battling the cold, all of us, ever since. The idea was complete that work and then move on to site changes that were going to take place southerly of the building in that parking lot. So we are now before the planning board. We got snowed out last night, but we'll be picking up that thread for the discussion of a site plan review with them next Monday. And I just wanted to have some idea of how the commission would want to handle this. Can this be folded into the existing filing? Is there a new separate notice of intent? Does the original borings work have to be completed before we can file for review of the work in the parking lot? I just kind of wanted to get a handle on how the commission saw this moving forward.
Okay. I believe that we could do it either way. We could do amend an order, or it would be cleaner, probably preferable to close this one out and then open a new order for the site work. But I understand the timing of that might not
that leaves us saying to the planning board, let's review this for the next couple of Mondays and then drop the idea until we finish the borings, which is not ideal. Certainly something that we can do, but not the preferred method. I'm sure that board would like to see some conclusion to their review as well. The same sort of thing we just talked about, an open-ended planning board review process until the borings are done, may not sit well with them. So
how long does the boring work take once you can actually get the temperatures where you need them?
my impression was a couple of weeks that would wrap up. It was on before last night. It was on the schedule loosely for the middle of March. So sometime at the beginning of April to the middle of April, that process would be done.
Okay.
It's relatively, the work in the parking lot qualifies as a minor site plan. I certainly don't want to put words in the planning board's mouth, but it's not especially complicated what we're proposing. So I don't see months and months of negotiations for that second portion of the project.
Are you doing drainage work?
No, just some site work, some regrading of the parking lot and repaving. We'll still continue to utilize sheet flow across the parking lot.
Okay, but it is all within the commission's jurisdiction, within the 100.
Yeah, that area of off-site to, if we're 75, must be 77, 79. That wetlands that Joe Arzell identified off-site puts us in the jurisdiction of the commission.
Okay. And Judy, we talked briefly about this, but I don't know if you got a chance to confirm our existing order for the borings. Do any of the none of the conditions are like ongoing, long-term, 2-year, monitoring or anything like that?
No long-term conditions in the order that's open.
Okay. All right, I'll open up to the rest of the members and see if anyone has any questions or wants to give thoughts on which route we would recommend or like to see, or indifferent. And Judy, if you have any other things you want to point out that might be pros or cons?
Yeah, I can give an overview of at least the state guidance on when an amended versus a new filing might be required, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it would.
Yep. So the guidance we have is an amended order is appropriate when the changes presented are relatively minor and will have unchanged or less impact on the interests protected by the Act. That being said, we did an amended order for the Charleswood School that added new resource area. So I think the commission has accepted amendeds in cases where there's been more disturbance. The guidance also says if the project is significantly different from the original project to warrant major changes in conditions within the order of conditions, it should be treated as a new filing. So if the commission thinks, the set of conditions they would potentially apply for this work would be significantly or inherently different than what's currently in place, a new filing might be more appropriate. Or if you think the conditions will be similar, an amended might be all right. The applicant would have to, in either case, re-notify abutters, refile with DEP, and repay additional consultant fees. So everything under an amended order or a new filing would still get the same level of review and notification. And the project does keep the original expiration date, so it doesn't get extended by the issuance of an amended order. So I guess that's something for the applicant to keep in mind, that they are still under the original deadline of the order for the soil remediation. And that's all I have.
Okay. And Joe Marquardt, just to confirm, what you would amend the order is shown on this plan right now. It's the remarking paving areas, the dumpster, proposed retaining wall. These are the things that you would be adding.
We're also changing the grading in that parking lot and along the southerly side to add in a new doorway for shipping and receiving, for drop-off of materials. So we'll be regrading that parking lot, but still carrying the water down according to the existing flow patterns down to the southeast. So there will be some regrading of the parking lot. There will be restriping to facilitate the movement of delivery vehicles and emergency vehicles, fire and police, what have you. But there will be changes to that grade and a resurfacing of the parking lot.
Okay. All right, I'll open it up again to commission members if anyone has any questions or thoughts.
Maybe just a couple quick questions. Joe, so the parking lot's not getting bigger at all. It's the same footprint. It's just being, the surface is being scraped and regraded and recovered. Is that true?
Correct. We lose a few parking places.
But the size of
no change in the size. It actually gets a little smaller. We're going to take some poorly existing conditions along the southeast corner and replant that as.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that will actually get a little smaller.
And presumably would be an improvement within resource area from what's there now.
Right, we feel it is.
And then obviously we would get a plan showing all of the work and the erosion barriers and stuff. It wouldn't just be approved by this discussion, right? I mean.
Correct.
No, this plan set, there are 8 or 10 pages in this plan set.
Right.
This is currently at the planning board. So
I thought that was a pretty obvious question, but I wanted to be sure. Melissa, for me, I think to make things easier for everyone, for us, the planning board, the applicant, I think I'm okay with not closing out the first. And based on what Judy said, I think I'm okay with that, but I certainly can be swayed if people have strong opinions.
Okay. Does anyone else have thoughts they want to share or questions?
No, I'm okay with that too.
Okay. Anyone from the audience? All right, I'm on board with that as well. I think we can do this under an amended order.
Great.
All right, so
That's the way we'll head then.
okay, we'll see you back soon then.
Okay. Thanks for the input. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Take care.
All right, next up we have 32 Granite Street. This is a continuation of violation discussion for a tree vegetation clearing. Judy, do you want to give us an update to what we have now?
Sure. So last time this was discussed, the commission issued an enforcement order to require a restoration and planting plan be presented in response to unpermitted clearing in jurisdiction. So we have received a restoration and planting plan. The colored dots indicate, the solid colored dots indicate proposed plantings, and the hollow colored dots indicate the cut vegetation that the commission deemed needed to be accounted for in the replacements. The numbers the commission decided on were 1-to-1 replacement for stumps, 2.5 inches diameter, and 1.5-to-1 for anything larger than that. And trees should replace trees, shrubs should replace shrubs. Those were the conditions the commission decided on. Since we have not sent this to Joe for review, I took a quick look at it with accounting for the sizes and the replacement ratios the commission decided on. The applicant needed to propose 27 to 28 replacements, 22 to 23 of which had to be trees. They are meeting that, and then some to account for potential die-off. So they are proposing 28 trees and 9 shrubs. And they are also proposing a PIB marked by these black squares that go around the plantings and pulled in a little bit to reflect the new delineation behind the house here. And all of these species proposed, which are listed in the legend down here, are all confirmed native on GoBotany and USDA Plants database. And that is all I have, so I'll turn it back over to you, Melissa.
Okay, thanks, Judy. Yeah, I think this is what we were looking for. This looks like what I was expecting, so appreciate the effort. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on this restoration plan?
Melissa, I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
I apologize to everybody if I've forgotten some discussions we've had before. But what caught my eye is, I keep forgetting you can't see my cursor, but over near the tree house, there are 2 things in that zone that caught my eye. The first is there are little to no new plantings between the tree house and then if you follow the BVW up to the brown dots. And I'm curious why we're not replacing any plantings in that zone. My other question, I'll just throw out both of the things I observed, is I see 2 new tree plantings within the wetland. And I don't know if that's a normal course of action for us to encourage going into the wetland to plant trees. Maybe we do that, but I kind of thought that was not our normal course of action. There's the 2 blue dots a little bit further along past where I was identifying that I don't see, there they are, yeah. So I just wanted to discuss those 2 parts of the plan a little bit. And I wonder if any other commission members have thoughts. Maybe we already agreed that nothing should be replanted in that zone, and I don't remember it.
Oh, that's a good question, Ted. I remember talking about wetland, but I don't remember saying yay or nay. Judy, do you have any thoughts to share on that?
I don't believe that was discussed, but I think in general, the recommendation is use plants that can tolerate wet conditions. I don't think in general the commission has discouraged it before.
Yeah, and these are smaller plantings. They're just gonna go in with like somebody's gonna go in with a shovel, right, and dig these out. There's no machinery or we're not anticipating a lot of disturbance to put these plants in. Correct. I'll open that up to the homeowner. Looks like you're on the line. Sure. That's done.
Dave can speak more about it, but I think in the last meeting we discussed, or like the recommendation from the Conservation Commission was to put the trees as close to the cutting as possible. That's why I think Dave recommended to put those two blue ones right there because that's where the cuttings are. But Dave maybe can speak more about it.
And I would like to add on for the tree house, why we've not added plants there is because we want them to grow and survive. So because of the tree house, we don't want to block sunlight because we already have really tall trees. So we just want to make sure the tree survives, not just two growing seasons, like perpetuity. So we made a conscious decision of not putting a plant, a young plant there, just because of sunlight.
So may I just ask clarification on that second point? What we see are where there are stumps, but there are still full-size healthy trees all around the lawn as well. It wasn't cleared to nothing.
Right, that's correct, yes.
Okay, okay. Again, I apologize for not remembering our last meeting.
No,
but
you were not in the last meeting, so no need to apologize. But
okay.
Yeah, we just want to make sure whatever we plant can last perpetuity and grow into healthy trees. Because again, our thinking thought process here is because we already have these big bulky trees, they have deeper roots and they will their likelihood of survival is higher when you put a newer tree. They're going to compete for resources. So we've made strategic choices of where we could add them and the trees can grow. And, we've accounted for buffer, but, if we plant 30 trees, whatever, 29, whatever trees we plant, I just want to make sure all of them survive. Then
if I could just ask one other question before we go to Joe on the planting of the trees within the wetland. I did notice in your materials that the stumps have shoots coming out of them. Would that include the stumps in that area around the treehouse I'm talking about?
so we already have a lot of stumps that already have shoots coming out of it.
Right.
So we are not talking about those replacement.
No, right. So the stumps that I see in that zone without new plantings, are those getting shoots out of them right now?
Oh, these ones, I think they are.
The majority of them, yes.
Majority
of
them, yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be a fairly fully vegetated area again without new tree plantings.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. That helps me.
All right.
And now if I could just get some expert thoughts on planting in the wetland and making sure we're just talking shovel and spade work.
Yeah, also Ted, I think I understand this correctly too, just to point this out. I believe the ones that are red circles are the ones that were 2.5 inches and above that need to be replaced. The ones that are the black circles are smaller than that. So I think they're trying to, you notice in that area
close to the red ones.
There were none of the big ones. Yeah, there was no 2.5 and larger that were removed there. So they're not replacing for those ones.
And I'm glad to get the reassurance that I was not at the meeting where we discussed this. And not that I just have a massive piece of brain fog. Yeah. Anyway, about the plantings in the wetland, Joe Orzel, I know you haven't looked at the whole plan, or Joe Marquidon. We'd just love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I was looking it over now. So it looks like there were some of the trees to be replaced that were cut within the wetland. And in that case, I think there's, not a problem in planting in the wetland. What size, I guess, I'm not sure what size trees are being proposed and how big of a excavation that might require.
Dave, do you want to go into the details?
Yep.
Oh, it's Dave, not Joe Marquidon. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, that's okay. So the proposed trees are 4 foot high, and they are going to be done by hand. They're in a bucket.
That's fine with the shovel in the wetland. I don't think it's an issue.
Thank you for the reassurance. That's all I saw, Melissa.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Anyone from the audience?
I do have a question, not on the tree, but Dave and I were discussing about this on the PIBs. So I think the question that Dave and I have is, do we need to just replace the current number of PIBs, or do we need to include more PIBs? And then second question is, as you see, like where you see that 14-inch birch medallion, 15-inch tree medallion, those trees already has medallions. So do we need to put new pips near to those trees?
I would say no. If there's a medallion that exists on the tree, it's in good shape, then you don't need to put a second one right there. So yeah, where you were pointing out, I think you can, especially that one that's right in front of the birch, as long as it's marked on the plan with medallion.
Yep.
Does anyone
Through the chair.
close enough? Yeah. What do you think, Ted?
I just want to make sure we're being clear that the trees with the medallions along the buffer, we are suggesting moving the PIBs closer to the home there. You're talking
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
specifically about the one
true.
tree by the driveway.
Yep.
Right.
And not all of the trees.
Right.
So
Yep.
I think my answer would be all of the posts are necessary, except where that one tree right next to the driveway basketball court is. That can satisfy, but the other ones are too close to the wetlands. And we'd rather see PIBs a little further out, the way the plan shows.
Through the chair,
Yes, Judy.
if that's the case, maybe the commission would discuss whether they want those existing PIBs removed, just to limit confusion of having two layers.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. The one along the wetland yep, right there on that side. Just take them off the tree and put them on the post.
I kind of assumed that was happening, so I didn't even bring it up, but maybe assumptions are a bad idea.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can clarify that, because I think the next step here, if we're good with this plan, is to have Judy write up a new enforcement order to set the time frame for carrying out this plan, that approves this plan and carries out this plan, and then adds kind of our typical conditions for 2 growing seasons to monitor, 80% survival, I think is what we've usually been doing lately. But we could also make a note in there about the PIBs to kind of try and clarify that. The existing versus the proposed.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. If no one has any other comments or thoughts, then I guess I'd ask for a motion to have Judy write that new enforcement order up. And we can either have Judy draft it and then come back to the next meeting and we can approve it, or she can draft an issue. Nobody's going to be planting anytime soon with this weather, so I don't, know that there's a rush.
All right. So was that a motion? I'll make that motion.
I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Is it clear that the motion is Judy drafts one up and does our signatures, or Judy drafts one up and we take a look at it and vote on it? Which one are we doing? Do we need to make that part of the motion?
We do. I was assuming Jim meant draft it up for the next meeting.
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
Is that what we meant, Jim?
Yeah.
Then I will second that motion.
All right. All in favor? Ted?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
But, sorry, I have a question. Do we need to come to the next meeting, or is it just something internally?
You don't. No, it's just paperwork. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And since this topic is closed, I have two more topics to discuss if commission has time. I sent a couple of documents to Judy. So there was a report that we submitted from arborist. We have two more trees that are decaying that we need to remove from the property. And I'm happy to share the report right now, share my screen. Or Judy, I'm not sure like if we have the report open with you or not.
Yeah, I can pull it up if Melissa, that's all right with you. Let me know.
That's okay. Yeah.
So there are two trees which will be like right in the wet line. This is a report from the arborist. There is a 12-inch tree which is showing signs of decaying because of that beetle damage. And there is a 18-inch tree that we would like to remove because there is a decay from the root. And Judy has seen that one since she did the site visit. And I can show you on the map where those two trees are that we would like to get it removed.
Okay. I think, Judy, would this fall under what you would typically do administrative approval for?
Yeah, generally, if a tree is obviously in decline or hazardous, staff can issue an exemption. In this case, I suggested the homeowner prepare an arborist report because we were also dealing with the violation. But if the commission is satisfied with this report as evidence that these two trees are hazardous, I can go ahead and just apply our usual logic. If it's a healthy tree and it's just leaning, we require replacements. Depending on the positioning, we require snags. So if the commission is comfortable with me applying that usual logic based on this report, I'm happy to handle that offline.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm glad we got the report, but I'm comfortable with that following that same logic. If anyone else has any thoughts, good with it.
Okay, thank you. And one more topic. So we have a couple of bushes right in front of our front door. Those are lavender bushes and rose bushes. And typically in the summer, fall time, we see a lot of bees in those areas. And I'm allergic to bees. So I would like to get those bushes removed and replaced with some non-flowering bushes. And they're right in front of the house, like right in the front of the front gate.
Okay, so like within, are you familiar with the area, Judy?
Yeah, so it's probably, I mean, it doesn't have a front bound on the house on this plan, but it's probably just within the 100-foot. Yeah, there's a couple of flowering bushes in the front.
Within like the lawn, landscape mulch.
Yeah, like landscape beds.
Yeah. I'm okay with that, but I will open it up to commission members for additional thoughts.
I'm a little heartbroken for our pollinators who are so desperate for homes that they seem to have found a place that really works for them. But I'm not going to be the voice that stands in the way. But it's so hard to find places for pollinators to have a happy life.
I hear you. I just got a bee stung last year, and I spent a day in the emergency room, anaphylactic reaction. So again, I don't want to go through that again. And it was a recommendation from the doctor to be as much away from the bee as possible. So that's the only reason.
Yeah.
So we should move those bushes to the very back corner of your yard.
That's honestly what I'm wondering. Someplace the bees can still find it, but you can go in and out of your house without fear of an emergency room.
Sorry, I would just say I drove him to the emergency room once. At that time, I just had one little one. I'm expecting another one. So handling two kids and he being in the emergency room, that's going to be a lot for me. So I personally love flowers, but like what we saw last, I think it was summer.
It was summer.
Yeah, it was very traumatizing, even for my little one to see.
I'm sure it was. Like I said, I'm not going to stand in the way. It just,
Thank you.
I don't want any human loss of life by any means.
Thank you. I mean, we would have wished to move it somewhere, but again, around the house, if we could not have bees, that's going to be helpful.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Yeah, if you'd like me to include that with the staff approval for the other 2 trees, I can kind of do the same, like apply replacement logic. And there might even be some plants we can suggest that might attract pollinators other than bees. You know, there's some that are specific to like moths, butterflies, hummingbirds. So if you'd like, I can do some more digging and suggest some that might be, you know, still equally beneficial for pollinators, but might not attract bees. Or if you'd like to just say replace them with natives, that's fine too.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if you can do that, Judy. I think replace with natives, but we'd encourage, you know, pollinator for other types of pollinators.
Yeah, I can do
Yeah,
that.
I think we would be okay with other types of pollinators as long as they're bees.
Okay. I think you're all set then. Thank you for
Thank
working
you
with
all
us.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep, thanks, Dave. All right, those were all of our items. We're down to the conservation minute. So
Conservation minute timekeeper.
minute. Yeah.
Joking, I'm joking.
We'll put that as a topic for a later conservation minute. But today we got trees, right, Judy, in the survey that Judy sent around. So thank you everyone who filled that out. I'm curious to see what the results look like.
Yeah, happy to scroll through. We got almost everybody, and we have some written comments from Jim as well. So it looked like everybody thinks we should adopt a formal tree replacement policy, which should come as no surprise. Most folks wanted a combination of size and number of trees, as well as the square footage of an impacted area to be considered when making requirements for replacement. So I think we can definitely explore language around using both of those if tonight's discussion is supportive of that. We had at least one vote for every single additional element. So, you know, maybe we can dive into more of these. These were kind of the examples I saw other towns doing. So requiring a certain replacement location, seasonal restrictions, plant types, etc. Happy to include everything, but maybe we can dive into that a little bit more to make sure we're including everything that you guys want.
Okay.
Almost
Well
everybody.
done.
Yep. Almost everybody is supportive of a tree mitigation fund to, I guess, account for cases where full replacement can't be met. We had one maybe, so I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. I've been speaking with some other towns who have this and town council as well on what this would actually look like. And then several additional ideas on resources to provide, as well as some additional thoughts on what the policy should include. So happy to turn it over to Melissa and the rest of the commission if we want to dive into any of these responses a little bit more, and then I can spend some time actually drafting the policy to be voted on.
Okay.
Hey, Judy, I'm sorry, Melissa. Judy, what are those notes at the bottom there?
So these are write-ins. This was like a, please share additional thoughts. This is a stupid AI summary. Let me get rid of that.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Okay.
So these are the write-ins.
We can go through those, but maybe in order. If you go up to the tree fund, I'm just curious what kind of information you got from other towns that had tree mitigation funds. Like, did they think they were helpful? Did they run into issues, or could they not find a use for the money?
Yeah, so I spoke with Wayland and Reading. Reading had a funny case where they had actually already established a fund in the 70s. So they just had to kind of revive it because we would need a town meeting vote to set up a revolving fund for tree mitigation. So what they do is options. They say if you remove trees, you can either donate to this fund, leave a snag, or plant replacement plants. So I think they use it in kind of a funky way. It's kind of an alternative to planting. Whereas if I have gotten to know this commission over the last year and a half, I feel like you guys would maybe still want the plantings, and this fund could be in place for, those cases where there isn't space for 2-to-1. Plant as much as you can and then pay into the fund, and town staff can figure out the logistics of where are we going to use those funds to plant trees on public land. He said it's been very helpful to streamline permitting in Reading, but again, they kind of use it as like you don't have to plant in that case.
Melissa?
Yes, Jim.
So in those cases, Judy, I mean, they're not allowing any, for lack of a better word, violator to not plant any replacements and just contribute to the fund, are they?
So for them, it's up to 4 trees. So they can remove up to 4 trees and pay into the fund instead of planting, or they can replant and not pay into this.
4? So
Yep.
if we require 28, 4 of those can be, donated money or whatever, right?
I think for them, it's only when the request is no greater than 4 trees. I think when it's greater
I
than
see.
4 trees, it might trigger a permit for them.
What kind of money are they talking as a donation?
I want to say it
If you
was like
recall.
$200 or $300 is what he said. And they said they even have to revisit that because the cost of saplings is going up. So we'd have to think about, how much this payment would include and write that into the tree policy.
Okay.
And I wonder if that payment includes labor. Like, I don't know what a sapling costs at all. I can't remember if I've ever bought one. But if that doesn't cover a crew going out to plant it and the gas for the trucks and whatever else is involved, then maybe it would have to be dramatically higher. In those towns, the 2, is it up to the applicant to decide up to 4 trees?
Yes.
Or is that a decision that's at the Conservation Commission's discretion?
Yeah, he said the applicant picks among those 3 options.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be a fan of that part. I might have been the maybe. I can't remember if I was the maybe vote. I think that if this is a well-run machine and carefully thought out, paying in at the commission's discretion could work well. In my work with the planning board and zoning and stuff, payment in lieu for affordable housing has been a complete waste of time and ultimately accomplishes nothing. And so the reason I think I might have been the maybe is I fear that would happen with a tree bank fund, that we're collecting money and either it's not enough to actually make it cost effective, or it's too cumbersome to try to find a place where the trees make sense. If I wasn't the maybe I am now.
You were the maybe.
I was, okay.
I will say I have spoken with Carrie Reed as well, and she said the DPW would be willing to help with the like the manual labor, like the muscle of it.
Mm-hmm. But I assume they're not doing that for free.
I don't know if we would pay them out of the fund or if it would just be accounted for with staff time. That's a good question. But the fund can be used for anything related to tree planting. So I believe the Reading agent said he's used it for like development of priority sites, like plans to prioritize planting areas, materials, equipment, that sort of thing. So that could be included in a discussion on how much to charge for each tree. If that's we get to a point where you want to start putting a number on, this is how much an applicant has to pay into.
I'd be curious to know too. I've seen some towns where planning boards use tree mitigation fund, like for street trees. If there's some reason that a development, because they have the requirement for, if you put in a new subdivision street, you have to have a certain number of street trees. If there's a situation where it doesn't make sense to have them all, I would wonder if the planning board would potentially use this fund as well, if it could be used by multiple boards or anyone in town that has a situation where they want somebody to pay into a tree fund.
But Melissa, this fund is, well, the fund would only be in lieu of somebody replacing trees that they cut down, not for permitted sites, right? So if we issue a permit, it's a planting plan, somebody can't buy out of that planting plan, right? This would only be for, I don't know, let's say violations.
I think it would have to be approved. We'd have to say, negotiate with them. Okay, we agree you can't replant the tree, or at least in my mind, that would be the purpose. Is when you can't replant on your property, then we will allow you to pay into this fund.
Right, but not for new projects.
I think the example that pops into my head is the West Main Street house, where with the enormous number of trees being chopped down and simply not enough room for, I don't even know if we got a 1-to-1 replacement out of it, but certainly not a 2-to-1.
Yeah. It's a good example. Yeah.
And you could even like put into the order of conditions for a project like that, the amount to be paid into the fund, so it becomes linked to the permit.
Yeah, I think you could ask. I've seen in other towns where they have the peer review consultant come up with the cost. So basically what they would assess those trees as being worth, or what, the cost would be associated with planting the trees elsewhere. As opposed to just like a flat, dollar per tree. I don't know. I think there's enough interest and questions to continue to look into this.
Yeah, it wouldn't be until next town meeting, unfortunately. We just missed the deadline for submitting an article to be voted on. So, we can definitely work on a tree policy in the meantime. And then, if the commission wants to come back with a proposal for a revolving fund for next town meeting, I think we'll be in a good position with a formal tree policy in place.
Yeah, and if we have it in place. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we don't have to hold up the tree policy for the fund. They're kind of two separate things. Yeah.
Right. I was going to say we can certainly try to use that policy along the way. And if there's a special town meeting in the fall, we might be able to jump on that.
Exactly.
Instead, but okay. All right. Well, thanks, Judy, for doing all that. And Anna.
Yeah, if we still have a couple minutes, Judy, do you want to go through the couple open-ended responses that people had, other ideas? Because we wouldn't have seen those just from the questions.
Let's see. So max % area of buffer zone to be disturbed. So I think.
Yeah, that was mine. I was thinking if we could work in, meaning you have a buffer zone area, if we have an up to maximum that we can allow, so even within the 100 or within the 50, maybe it would be different percentages. I was thinking of properties like along the lake, and even for after the fact permits, if we have something that says we only allow up to 30% of the buffer zone to be cleared or impacted, then it would give us something to point to when people come and they're like, well, I already did this. Can you just approve it under this after the fact NOI? I'm gonna be like, well, you have to restore it so that there's no more than 30% that's been touched. Is kind of where my head was going there. I feel like we spend a lot of time trying to justify like what's okay, how much buffer disturbance is okay or not okay. in that 150, not just for, obviously we have the building, no disturbance or no build. But I feel like we talk a lot about like, what did we do on this property? What did we do on that property? As far as allowing people to encroach into the 50.
Melissa,
Yeah.
I could see some value in having some guidance, but I think we would want to give ourselves discretion still. I don't think I want to be a hard and fast. I think we need to have the ability to still view it on a case by case basis, but maybe have a little bit of guidance out there for applicants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and actually that was one of my comments is ultimately it's at our discretion. Policy notwithstanding, but there's going to be circumstances when we may, limit or reduce what might be the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's why we're here. We have jobs.
I mean, when I think of the planting, on my head goes just trees and shrubs versus anything else, right? Native grasses and stuff like that. I don't lump that necessarily in the same category. Just hearing people talk and thinking about this a little bit more as we talk through it, whether it's percentage or something else, I think it's important if that we differentiate, that first 25 feet, the 50 foot and the 100 foot, because they all have some value, but they don't all have the same value.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's important that we consider, if someone cuts down a bunch of trees in the 0 to 25, that's different than if they're cutting some trees down along the edge of the 100 foot. So I think that's got to somehow kind of find its way into the language.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would definitely be different. Maybe you wouldn't have any in the 100. Maybe you wouldn't have a percentage for the 100, 50 to 100. Maybe it's focused.
So does that look like a different replacement ratio, Matt, depending on how close the removed tree is to the wetland?
I think that's something we should at least discuss, whether or not we want to differentiate ratios. But I mean, from my perspective, I see a lot more value in that 0 to 25 vegetation than I do in the 50 to 100. I just think it protects the resource. It's a better buffer, right? The further you get away from the wetland, the less the development or work in an area is going to likely to impact that resource.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes.
My brain has enough mathing with counting snow totals lately, but just trying to think too. I'm a little leery of percentages. Like you have a small, tiny little lake lot, or you have, a huge commercial property that, both have buffer zones. So I'm trying to figure out and differentiate, you don't want to say, okay, hard and fast, you can, cut up to or clear, X percentage. Obviously we want to keep the percentages as minimal as possible. I'd be a little afraid to have, typically we do treat commercial versus residential quite different, but just to be cautious of, somebody's like, oh, hey, look, I can clear even more than I was expecting because of this percentage kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
no,
just food for thought.
Yeah, you'd have to look at it similar to how we look at riverfront area, right? A square footage or a percentage, whichever is greater situation.
Yeah. Right. We wouldn't want them to clear it all in one path down to the water versus, keeping that linear along the lakefront or something. Okay.
I mean, I think this is a great start to the discussion. Obviously, this is going to take some time to nail down the details and pull language together that, accomplishes everyone's goals.
Yeah, I think I saw something about this I think this was one in the MACC webpage under climate resilience, like add-ons to regs, maybe, Judy. So maybe we can just pull a couple examples to keep the conversation going on that one.
Yeah, if it would be helpful, now knowing what folks want to see, I can put together almost like a template, and then, you know, bring it back and almost like Mad Libs, have you guys fill in the blanks on, you know, this is what we want for ratios. This is actually too much. I can try to work on, you know, maybe instead of like a percentage of disturbance, it could be expected percentage of restoration, for those lakefront properties. If that, you know, gets us away from like an allowable amount of disturbance, it's more like this is what you're expected to provide if you're proposing work in, you know, if it's riverfront or lakefront. So maybe I'll just, you know, throw everything into a template and then we can work on tweaking it to exactly what you guys want to see, if that sounds helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It does.
That'll work.
Yeah. I think maybe first step, if you can pull together some framework or what, so you're not wasting a bunch of time writing up language or something that maybe doesn't fit in there nicely. And then we can look at the framework of it, kind of take the next step, dig into a little deeper with some detail. It may be worth considering to the lakefront point, right? You may have multiple sections, right? You may have a lakefront properties section of the planting guidance, and then inland properties, or you know, riverfront, lakefront. You might be able to break it up into different categories.
Yeah. Yep.
We got to make sure to get Ed's thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can try to come ideally at the next meeting with some kind of template. If it ends up taking longer, might push it back, but I think it'd be great to get this policy like wrapped up into the regs updates we're working on. So I will do my best to get that in front of you guys as soon as possible.
Okay.
Great. Hey, aside from that, Ed's not here. What are we going to nominate him for tonight? What responsibilities are we going to give him that he wasn't expecting?
I don't know.
All right. We'll reserve the right to nominate him later.
Jim, I think you need to come prepared for the next time Ed's not in attendance with a suggestion.
Exactly.
I know, it's not often. It's
maybe he can be the
his attendance holders.
How about we make him the commission beekeeper?
Beekeeper, is that what you said?
Yeah, beekeeper.
Beekeeper.
Yeah.
I could see him doing that out there in a bee suit.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Out there with the fences. Yeah.
And the smoker, yeah.
Actually, I saw honey made. I thought of Ed. I got to get him some from, what is it, the Boston Honey Company. They had honey made from invasive species.
We saw
flowers.
he's got some that was made with Japanese knotweed apparently.
Does he? Okay, yeah.
According to the label, which I think he got in Holliston. He has not opened it up and tried it yet. But I certainly, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Put a hive right in the middle of the knotweed. I don't know how you control them. How you control a bee from just going to one plant or another? I don't think you can you?
I don't know.
And that's the field of clover. Yeah. Okay. Well, you can be the guy exploring how many producers of knotweed honey there is.
Sounds good. All right. Can I get does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, real quick, actually. I got a notification from the farmers market organizers that they are compiling lists of folks who want to table this year. We were very ambitious last year, and I know there were some mixed thoughts on, and not a lot of Hopkinton residents, whether folks found it valuable, but maybe if there's interest, we can do maybe one in the early season and then do Family Day again in the fall, or we can just focus on Family Day this year because that was, I feel, super successful. So just throw that out there. If there's interest in the farmers market again this year, I'm happy to reach out and get us a slot, but if not, that's totally fine.
Okay. my personal opinion, I definitely think Family Day was worth it. I thought that was a pretty good audience. I do feel like I remember at Family Day at least one or two people saying, "Oh, you guys were at the farmers market." So I was like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
I guess we were seen."
If you book a slot, is it for like the whole season or just?
No, we can pick just however many days we want. So last time I just asked for the first Sunday of every month. We could do like the first Sunday or.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, however many you want.
Well, and I don't mind hanging out there on a Sunday, so whatever you decide, count me in for whenever we're there. God willing.
And we can think on it some more.
Yeah, let's think on it, and also maybe think about if there's any other opportunities that we would want to be at. I can't remember what it is right now. I remember at some point last year being like, "Oh, we should probably set up a table at this." I don't remember what it was, but hopefully I'll think about it. I'll think of it. But there's so much in town. I feel like was it Poly Arts maybe? I don't know. There's a few events.
I asked about Family Fling, but I was told that was maybe not so much for tabling and more so for like activities. But yeah, if anybody has ideas, definitely send them my way.
Okay.
If we did Poly Arts, we could also sell Ed's Knotweed honey and put the money into the tree fund.
That's true.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, good idea.
Thank you.
Really tying it all together, Ted.
Thank you. That's what I do.
Can we put a PIB label on the jar?
Of course, with Ed's face in the middle instead of whatever artwork we have.
There you go. We'll have Ed get some bulk prices on the knotweed honey. Some wholesale prices.
All right. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Oh, reluctantly second. Oh, no, give it to Matt.
All right. All in favor, Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All right. Thank you all.
See you all in a couple weeks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. Be well.